Hey everybody, Shadow Serpent here. Welcome to today's video. Today's video is going to be my top 3 loadouts that you should be using in all Warzone game modes. We will have a couple of honorable mentions in which I'll just give you guys the screenshots for instead of explaining all the stuff. There'll be like fast TTK weapons that just you are a little harder to control, or just they're just on the cusp of being that third, and they could have been third, but I went another way, etc., etc. Something like along those lines. So make sure you guys like and comment on the video. It helps me so much. You guys don't understand how much it helps when you like, comment, and watch the whole thing. It literally propels this video into other people's suggested video feeds, and that'll help us get more subscribers and all that stuff. I'd like to get to 200 subscribers here, so let's share these videos as well if you guys don't mind. That would be fantastic. I'd love you guys so much for that. And then also, um, if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. We have the best loadout videos like you're about to see right now. I do all the research, I do all the testing, I check the patch notes, I check the stats, I do all of it, and I make sure that the builds that you see in my loadout videos, I can put into the hands of any player, and they will absolutely fry with them. That is the goal of this channel, is to help out the small guys as well as the big guys and everybody in between. So make sure you subscribe to this channel right here. We also got some fun gameplays. I got some gameplays coming up that you guys will love. Absolutely 100%. So, that being said, let's get into the top 3 long range meta. In the number 3 spot is the Bal 27. Especially this build right here, has a really good velocity, and it has a really good time to kill in its first 2 damage ranges, even in its third. But its first 2 damage ranges are especially important because that's where I believe most of your gunfights should happen. So that's why we did that. And then also, this thing has like no recoil anymore. They over buffed the recoil on this gun, and it feels so good. So let's get into the attachments and why we're using. We're using the Ardent tack stock. For that firing aim stability, recoil control, and the gun kick control. If you see 29% recoil gun kick and then 7% horizontal and vertical. Then we have the Crown H3 barrel, which is for bullet velocity range. We have aim walking speed, movement speed, aiming idle sway. But the big thing is we have 20% boost to our damage range, and we have a 11% boost to bullet velocity, as well as giving us a little bit of movement speed, which makes this gun a little bit more aggressive, and you can run around with that out, and you can see the ADS speed is really fast. By the way, you will also notice that I am using an iron sight build if that's not something that you're comfortable with doing. I would recommend taking off the high velocity rounds, and maybe putting on the glassless optic, and then putting on like the spear fire suppressor, so you can extend that bullet velocity a little bit. But speaking of suppressors, we're using the quartermaster suppressors. Keeps us out the radar, and it helps us a ton with our recoil control, making this thing shoot like an absolute laser beam. And then we're using the high velocity rounds over the high grain rounds. It's a matter of, I want all that bullet velocity. That's all, 1149. And we have 5%, reduction to our recoil, which isn't all that bad. I haven't really play tested it much with the high grain rounds, but I probably will here soon, just so we can see what that feels like. 1,000 bullet velocity is still plenty. I just don't like all that extra recoil, but as you can see by the recoil stats, there's not really a whole lot there. And then the 60 round mag is the best that we got. This list is the MTZ 556. This thing is just an absolute laser beam. They've been buffing it ever since season 2. It just steadily keeps getting buffed and buffed and buffed and buffed and buffed. They adjusted the recoil, they adjusted the bullet velocity, they have adjusted the damage ranges. They keep doing it, and it keeps making this nastier and nastier. And this build particularly, once again, iron sight build. I love the iron sights on this. Reminds me of the Ram when that was meta back in season 1 and parts of season 2. And this gun is just a ton of fun. It's super aggressive, has a really long first damage range, and has a really good time to kill in that first damage range. I believe it's under 800 milliseconds in that first damage range, which is 56 meters, by the way. So let's get into the attachments. First thing, 50 round drum. That's the maximum we got. If you are wanting to use the sight, you're going to have to change your build completely, and I will show you a build for that. So I'm using the MTZ Marauder stock, which is giving me 21% recoil gun kick and 9 and 8% to our horizontal and vertical recoil respectively. Then we're going with the MTZ Clinch Pro Barrel because it's giving us firing game stability, aiming idle sway, and it's giving us better damage range and better bullet velocity, as you can see by the stats there. So we're up over 1,000 bullet velocity with this. Next is the Quartermaster Suppressor. Once again, it's almost eliminating a lot of your horizontal recoil, and it's helping gun kick control and vertical recoil as well. And then we have the high grain rounds to extend out that damage range to almost 57 meters and extend that bullet velocity. Now, if you want to use a sight, you're going to change your build to something like this. I would recommend this build right here. And this one should be an absolute missile as well. As you can see, I am absolutely lasering those targets at the long range with this build. I prefer the iron sight build just because the iron sights are so clean. So just try the iron sight build. If not, you can use the other one as well. And number one on our long-range meta is obviously the STG-44. That hasn't changed since my last video, and that's probably not going to change as much as everybody is complaining about how ridiculously fast the STG kills in its first damage range, and it has a pretty good time to kill in its second damage range as well. What I suggested, and I'll say it in the video, so maybe it gets to somebody who is watching obscure content creators' videos, but nerf the close range damage so that way it's about 750 milliseconds in that first damage range, and then buff the long range damage so it comes down from 1200 all the way down to about 900 or 950, and that's a perfect balance for the STG. It's still going to be the number one rifle. It's still going to be easy to use, and it's still going to have crazy good bullet velocity. Just nerf and buff the right damage ranges so it's a little bit more balanced. That being said, let's get into this build. This build has over 50 meters of first damage range, so you're going to have that super incredible time to kill for a long time. You want to take gunfights within 50 meters. You don't really want to be outside of that because you're far less accurate. So we got the Corio Eagle's Eye on this one. Could go with the Jack Glassless. Just use whatever optic you feel the most comfortable using. 50-round drum. We have the high grain round, which is helping extend that damage range by 15%, as well as the bullet velocity, getting us to up over 1,200 bullet velocity. Quartermaster Suppressor is going to eliminate a lot of horizontal recoil, which the STG doesn't have a whole lot of that, and it's also going to help with the recoil gun kick and the vertical recoil. Then we have the Bruen Acrux. I was using the Heinrich barrel, which gives us 54 meters. But honestly, for that 1.5 less percent or 1.5 less meters of effective damage range, I get recoil control, better recoil control on it, and I still have over 1,200 bullet velocity. So I decided to switch to that, and so far it's worked out really well. And this thing is an absolute beam when it's built like this, and you are absolutely destroying people in its first damage range. So make sure you guys give this build a try, and let me know what you guys think about my build in the comments below. Number 3 for the close range meta is going to be the Striker 45, as it was known back in MW19. This gun just does an insane amount of damage per bullet. Slow fire rate, but it has basically no recoil, so I went ahead and only put on the Quartermaster Suppressor for recoil control. Everything else is geared on movement or extending out the damage range, giving us a little bit better bullet velocity. And this gun is super mobile this way as well. So we got the 48 round mag. There is a 60 round drum option, but currently I wouldn't recommend it just because if you see it slows down your ADS by 16 additional percent. So you're almost at 240 milliseconds for your aim down sight speed. And that honestly, no bueno, not good at all. And it does hurt your sprint to fire a little bit, which, you know, that's pretty important for an SMG. So we're going to stick with the 45 round mag. For this. I do want to preface this because this is a Warzone loadout video. If you are playing solos, not Resurgence, I feel like you get into way more gunfights in Resurgence than you do in Battle Royale. If you're playing Battle Royale solos, to be honest, with the slow fire rate that the UMP has or the Striker has, you can just do the base magazine and it allows you to add one more attachment, and it makes your gun a little bit more mobile as well. So that is also an option. We got the high grain rounds to extend our damage range out to almost 15 meters and give us a little bit better bullet velocity. The XRK Edge, which is going to make our movement speed better, and it's going to help our ADS and sprint to fire. Quartermaster Suppressor is the only attachment on here I have for recoil control because it doesn't really hurt our handling all that much, and it gives us a bunch of recoil benefits for that. And then the Lockman MK2 light stock gives us a lot of movement speed for, a little bit of recoil gun kick. So that being said, you could also use something like the tactical stock, which gives you mobility benefits, but also gives you recoil control. So you can do that in favor of like maybe putting on like a sonic suppressor or something like that. That's also an option. Um, or even the Crotalus stock, which is going to help your ADS speed and it helps with the gun kick, but it also gives you a bunch of firing aim stability. So there's a couple different options you can do here. I just like the mobility benefits of this instead. Two in the close range meta is going to be the WSP9. So if you include the what's it called, the open bolt delay that the WSP9 has. It has like a TTK roughly about 654 milliseconds. But if you don't include the open bolt delay, meaning if you catch somebody by surprise and you're able to fire at them without being fired at first, this thing technically has a 600 millisecond time to kill in its first damage range, and the damage ranges don't drop off all that steeply, so it's a really good sniper support as well. This is my build that I use. I have that pay to win bundle. It's like the bone something bundle, whatever. I made a video on it when it first dropped and when the DG58 LSW was still meta. And this is my build for that. So we have the factory stock, which is going to give us mobility and better ADS time. The 40 round mag, you could go up to 50 with this build because your ADS speed is still pretty decent, but just does slow you down a decent amount. So I just stuck with the 40 round mag because 40 bullets with a slow fire rate is plenty. We have the XRK Edge, which is going to help with mobility and handling a decent amount, and then we have the Quartermaster Suppressor, which is going to take away all that horizontal. I find that with the WSP9, it has like a lot of back and forth bounce. So it does bounce like vertical, but it has a little bit more back and forth. So I'd rather have all that horizontal recoil control than a bunch of vertical recoil control. And then we have the Hiss Short Light Barrel, which is going to give us better sprint and tactical sprint speed, as well as helping with the sprint to fire and the ADS speed as well. It's only going to hurt recoil a little bit, but trust me, you don't even notice it. If you do not have this bundle and you prefer to use a sight, because I will not lie, the WSP9 iron sights are absolutely terrible. Trust me, I know this is going to seem a little weird. Drop the suppressor. Yes, you're going to show up on the minimap, but this gun fries enough, that's not going to matter. And then pick your close range optic of choice, whether it be the NIDAR, the glassless, whatever you want to use there. That's what I would do for that. And number one for the close range meta is going to be the Static HV, the brand new Season 5 SMG. This thing is absolutely nuts. There are so many different ways to build this gun. I went with this build for full mobility. I just want to dance around my opponents. That's why I went with this. But this gun is still very controllable, has a super fast ADS, and has absolutely crazy strafe speed and a really, really good regular movement speed, tactical sprint speed, and a really good sprint speed. So we went with the Spry 34 light stock here. That's going to help out with that movement speed, sprint speed, ADS movement speed, tactical sprint speed, and it's even going to give us a little bit better of aim down sight speed as well. I got the NIDAR Model 2023 on this one, just because I wanted to use a sight. To be perfectly honest, the iron sights are really, really clean, so you can drop the NIDAR in favor of maybe a laser to make the ADS more better, or you can put on the overpressured rounds, which is going to help you win in gunfights in that close range because it's make them flinch a little bit more. Then we have the Auger 840 light barrel. This is going to give us better movement speed, better ADS and sprint to fire. It's going to hurt your recoil a little bit, but you don't really notice it in the close range, and it'll help with your tack stance and all that stuff, but that stuff's not really 100% important. So Quartermaster Suppressor is going to help with the recoil, as it always does, keeps you off the mini-map as well. And then we have the F-Tech MSP hand stop, which gives us better recoil gun kick, better vertical recoil control, and it hurts our horizontal slightly, but at the cost of giving us 8% to our ADS movement speed, our strafe speed, and 6% to our normal movement speed. So this build right here, absolutely fly, and I love this build. If you're looking for more of a sniper support build, I'd recommend this build right here. This is probably the better sniper support build. It does have a little bit slower ADS, but you're going to absolutely shred people at range with this gun, and it has basically no recoil, so honorable mentions, or I'm just going to leave the gun up and have you take a screenshot. The first honorable mention for close range is going to be the Superi. It's still really good in the close range. It's just not good at any other range. And it has insane mobility. And our last honorable mention for close range is going to be the Lockman Shroud with the Jet Decimator kit. It does have a crazy good time to kill in its first damage range and its second damage range, so it does make a good sniper support. It's very mobile. It is a little slow on the ADS side of things, but this build is probably your best bet for the Lockman Shroud. For our first honorable mention for long range, we get the Holger 556. It got bullet velocity buffs, damage range buffs. It's got a little bit of recoil, but it's not too terrible, especially with this build. So go ahead and give that a shot as well. Mention is Attack Eradicator. If the STG gets nerfed, I think the Eradicator takes a spot because this build has essentially no recoil and it has really insane bullet velocity. So its hit scan range is crazy. You just be beaming people out of the sky. But this is it. I like the Iron Sights a little bit better, so I'll leave this up on the screen and then I'll switch to the Iron Sight build as well. Honorable mention. I just want to mention this because the time to kill is insane. If you can hit your shots with this, this gun has a really good time to kill in its first two damage ranges and a competitive time to kill in its last damage range, but it stands out in the first two. It does have like S-shaped recoil, so if you're not a person who can abuse aim assist or like strafes when they shoot, it's going to be a little bit harder to control. But this is the build that I use for Iron Sights. And if you're not using Iron Sights, I'd recommend this build instead.